I know what to do, so why don't I do it? Is today's book. And this is a self help book by Dr. Nick Hall. And the book focuses on the concept of neurosemantics, and it offers insights into why people often struggle to take action, even when they know what they should do. So we begin first with our chapter by chapter quick summary. Chapter 1 talks about the curse of knowing doing gap. Okay, now this is interesting. This chapter introduces the concept of the knowing doing gap, which is the disconnect between knowing what to do and actually taking action. So, here Dr. Hall explains that this gap is the source of many personal and professional challenges. In chapter 2, we're looking at neurosemantics, which is the structure of our experience. And here, Dr. Hall introduces the framework of neurosemantics, which is a model for understanding the structure of our thoughts, our feelings, and behaviors. And he explains how our mental states are interconnected and impact our actions. More on these chapters a bit later. So, we look also at chapter 3, which is the meta states, how states stack up in our minds. So, in this chapter, the author delves into the idea of meta states, which are emotional states about emotional states. It's quite interesting. Emotional states about emotional states. So, Dr. Hall explains how these meta states can lead to either empowerment or disempowerment. Chapter 4 talks about the 5 levels of mind, the structure of states, and metastates. And here, Dr. Hall outlines the 5 levels of mind, which include sensory based experiences, reactive emotions, critical thoughts, beliefs, and meta beliefs. He explores how these levels interact and shape our behaviors. We look also at chapter 5, which talks of the magic of emotions, emotions as our fundamental response. So, this chapter focuses on the power of emotions and how they drive our actions. Here, Dr. Hall discusses the relationship between emotions and the knowing doing gap. We'll be talking about the knowing doing gap quite a lot in this video. We look also in chapter 6, the states and emotions, the link to excellence and peak performance. And here, Dr. Hall emphasizes the connection between our emotional states and our ability to perform at our best. He provides practical advice for managing and enhancing one's emotional states. Chapter 7 discusses beliefs, the core of our identity. And in this chapter, we explore the role of beliefs in shaping our behaviors. So, Dr. Hall discusses how beliefs can limit or empower us and provide strategies for changing limiting beliefs. Now, this is very important. Absolutely important. Chapter 8, we also look at the meta programs, which is our inner world of thinking styles. And in this chapter, Dr. Hall introduces the concept of meta programs, which are patterns of thinking and decision making. And he explains how understanding your meta programs can help you take more effective actions. Chapter 9 looks at the breakout system, which is getting out of the matrix of limitation. And here, Dr. Hall presents the breakout system, which is a step by step approach to breaking free from the knowing doing gap. And he also provides tools and exercises to help readers to take action. And the last but definitely not the least chapter, chapter 10, is all about putting it all together, mastering the magic of meta states. So, in the final chapter, Dr. Hall summarizes the key concepts from the book as well as encourages readers to integrate these ideas into their lives. It's one thing to know this information, right? Is what the book says. It's another thing, a more important thing for you to apply this information into your life. So, Dr. Hall offers guidance on creating a plan for personal transformation and closing the knowing doing gap. So I know what to do, so why don't I do it? Is a comprehensive guide to understanding and overcoming the barriers that prevent individuals from translating their knowledge into action. It provides readers with practical tools and insights to help them make and take more effective and empowered steps toward their goals. So we look at each and every chapter, beginning with chapter 1, right? Let's go on that in the next section. Chapter 1, once again, is the curse of knowing doing. So, chapter one, in this chapter, Dr. Hall sets the stage for the book by introducing the central problem that it addresses, right? Which is the disconnect between knowing what to do and actually taking action. So, in chapter one, there are certain sub themes. For example, we look at the knowing doing gap. Here, Dr. Hall begins by highlighting the frustration that many people experience when they find themselves stuck in a cycle of knowing what they should do, but not being able to follow through. This gap between knowledge and action is a common source of personal and professional challenges. And then another sub theme is procrastination and paralysis. The chapter delves into the psychological and emotional factors that contribute to this gap. Dr. Hall discusses how procrastination, self doubt, fear, and inertia often prevent people from taking the necessary steps to achieve their goals. We also look at the power of understanding. Here, Dr. Hall suggests that the first step in bridging the knowing doing gap is understanding it. He emphasizes that by comprehending the underlying dynamics and factors that create this gap, individuals can start to address the problem, right? You can't address and tackle something that you don't even know. So you need to know it, you need to understand it. We also look at Introduction to Neurosemantics. And so this chapter provides an initial glimpse into the concept of neurosemantics, a framework that Dr. Hall uses throughout the book to explain the relationship between thoughts, emotions, and actions. He asserts that understanding the structure of our internal experiences is crucial for addressing the knowing doing gap. And then also is a holistic approach. And Dr. Hall introduces the idea that the gap is not merely a cognitive issue, right? It's not a matter of you not knowing, right? It's a holistic problem that involves our entire neurolinguistic system. And so this means it's not just about thinking our way to action, but also involves emotions, beliefs, and meta states, right? Which are the emotions about emotions, right? How you feel about emotions. It's quite interesting. And then also the curse of awareness. This is where the chapter concludes by discussing the curse of being aware of what we need to do, but not taking the action. So Dr. Hall asserts that the more we are aware of our lack of action, the more frustrated we become. And this awareness can lead to a downward spiral of inaction. My goodness. So, this chapter serves as an introduction to the central issue, which is addressed in the book, laying the groundwork for the neurosemantics framework that Dr. Hall will use to help readers better understand and ultimately overcome the knowing doing gap. My goodness, this is something that a lot of us need, right? Yeah, if you're one of those people that need this, guys, like just share your views in the description and the comment section below. But you're absolutely not the only one, right? We absolutely need to understand this and apply this in our lives. Imagine if we all did, right? The amount of progress we'll make, the amount of results that we'll arrive at. It is absolutely possible. So, moving on to the next chapter, chapter two, we look at neurosemantics. Chapter 2, Neurosemantics. So the structure of our experience. In fact, it's titled Neurosemantics, the structure of our experience. So in this chapter, Dr. Hall introduces the concept of neurosemantics and explains how it provides a framework for understanding the structure of our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. So here's an expansion on the key points discussed in chapter 2. So we look at the foundation of neurosemantics, right? Dr. Hall begins by providing an overview of what neurosemantics is all about, right? And how it forms the basis for his approach to understanding the knowing doing gap. Again, we'll be hearing about this knowing doing gap quite a lot throughout the book. So, neurosemantics is an interdisciplinary field that integrates elements of cognitive psychology, linguistics, and neurology to explore how our mental and emotional states are structured. Okay, so it helps you literally understand how your emotions work, how your thoughts work, uh, all of that. And then we also look at the mind-body connection, right? One of the fundamental concepts in neurosemantics is the interconnectedness of the mind and the body. Okay. Now, again, this is easy to understand because we know that we all, are connected, right? We know that our systems, our bodily systems, are connected. So, here, the author helps us to understand how our bodies are connected to our mind. So, or rather, our body is connected to our mind. Dr. Hall emphasizes that our mental states are not purely abstract thoughts, but are intricately linked with physiological responses and emotions. He highlights the importance of recognizing the mind body connection in understanding our experiences. We look then at the metastates model. Here, Dr. Hall introduces the idea of metastates, which are states of mind about other states. These metastates can influence our behaviors and our decisions. So, for example, feeling anxious about being anxious can lead to a spiral of increasing anxiety, right? You know you're going to feel anxious even before you feel anxious. You're already feeling anxious that you will feel anxious. And so you're caught in this anxiety spiral. So, by recognizing and understanding these meta states, individuals can gain more control over their responses and their actions. Another key point in chapter 2, guys, chapter 2 is important, is neuro linguistic programming, NLP. So the chapter touches upon neuro-linguistic programming, a field that's closely related to neurosemantics. NLP explores how language and communication patterns affect our mental states and behaviors. So Dr. Hall suggests that understanding NLP can be a powerful tool for changing one's internal dialogues and self-talk to overcome the knowing-doing gap. And then also we look at the impact of metastates on performance. Dr. Hall explains how the metastates we experience can significantly impact our performance. For instance, if you're in a state of self-doubt about your ability to perform a task, it's likely to hinder your performance. Recognizing and managing these metastates is key to improving performance and decision making. And then another, again, sub theme in chapter 2 is the meta states model in practice. So here the chapter provides practical examples of how the meta states model can be applied in everyday life. Dr. Hall discusses how to identify and address meta states that may be hindering progress, and he also outlines, some steps that you can take to change that. So, chapter 2 sets the stage for the deeper exploration of neurosemantics, which is a core component of Dr. Hall's approach to overcoming the knowing doing gap. It emphasizes the idea that our experiences are not purely intellectual, but are deeply tied to our emotions, our bodily responses, as well as our language patterns. So, understanding how these factors interact can help individuals gain greater control over their thoughts and behaviors, which is essential for closing the knowing doing gap. And so we move on to the next part, chapter 3. Chapter 3 discusses the meta states, right? How states stack up in our minds. Moving on to chapter 3, right? Chapter 3 is meta states, how states stack up in our minds. And in this chapter, Dr. Hall explores the concept of meta states in more depth and how these layers of emotional states can impact our thoughts and actions. So we look at the following sub themes: understanding meta states. Dr. Hall starts by revisiting the concept of meta states, which are emotional states about emotional states. He explains that these meta states can be thought of as frames that we put around our primary emotions. So, for example, you may feel anger, a primary emotion, about feeling afraid, right? A meta state. It's quite interesting. And so, also, there's the concept of the stacking of states. Dr. Hall introduces the idea that our minds often stack multiple emotional states on top of one another. My goodness, I felt this one. So the stacking can either empower or disempower us. So, for example, if you feel excited about your goals, which is an empowering meta state, you are more likely to take action. However, if you feel anxious about feeling excited, which is a disempowering meta state, it can hinder your ability to act. Whew. Okay. Whew. Yeah, that hit home. That hit home. Sure. Okay. The next one is the state of excellence. Here, Dr. Hall introduces the concept of a state of excellence. This is a meta state where you feel confident, where you feel motivated and capable of taking action. Where you consistently enter the state, you're more likely to overcome the knowing doing gap and perform at your best, right? So you want to arrive at that state of excellence, which will be an empowering state. And then we look also, where there's the excellence, there's also the negative metastates. So the chapter also delves into how negative metastates such as self-doubt, procrastination, or fear can paralyze us. Dr. Hall emphasizes the importance of recognizing these negative metastates and preventing them from becoming chronic and self-sustaining. And so there's also another sub theme, which is the impact on self concept. And the concept of self concept or how we perceive ourselves is discussed in relation to meta states, right? Negative self concept can be reinforced by disempowering meta states, making it difficult to take action or believe in our abilities. So, in other words, the more of these negative meta states that are roaming in your head and sort of nurtured and fed, is the more you will be paralyzed, right? And absolutely ineffective because you're not taking any action, though you know what you need to do. But because of these negative meta states, you sort of are trapped in the knowing and you're not taking any action. Okay, and then we look also at practical application, absolutely important. The chapter provides practical exercises and techniques for recognizing and managing meta states. So, Dr. Hall offers tools to help readers identify when they are in disempowering meta states and also provide strategies to shift into empowering states. And the last sub theme that we're going to look at here is emotions and decision making. Dr. Ho highlights how our emotional states can significantly influence our decision making. So, when we are in empowering meta states, we are more likely to make decisions that align with our goals and our values. So, chapter 3 deepens the exploration of the role of emotional states and meta states in our, in shaping our thoughts as well as our actions. And Dr. Hall emphasizes the idea that it's not just about what we know, but how we feel and think about what we know. Hey guys, let me say this again. So it's not enough that we know what we know, but it matters how we feel about what we know, right? Do we feel empowered about what we know? Do we feel willing to do something about what we know, or do we feel anxious about what we know? If there's a conflict between what we know and how we feel about what we know, that becomes a problem as well. So, understanding the stacking of states and the impact of these emotional layers is key to managing and ultimately overcoming the knowing doing gap. So, the chapter provides readers again with practical tools to become more aware of their meta states and begin to shift them in a way that empowers action as well as personal growth. So, we move on to chapter 4, which talks about the 5 levels of the mind, the structure of states and meta states. So, chapter 4, the 5 levels of the mind, the structure of states and metastates. And in this chapter, Dr. Hall introduces the concept of the 5 levels of the mind, which are sensory based experiences, reactive emotions, critical thoughts, beliefs, and meta beliefs. He explains how these levels interact and how they influence our behaviors. So here we look a bit deeper into chapter 4, the 5 levels of mind. Dr. Hall outlines the five levels of mind and describes how they stack upon one another. Okay, so these are the five levels. Once again, sensory based experiences. This is the lowest level and it includes raw sensory data. It's what we perceive through our senses, right? What we touch, what we see, what we hear, you know, that's the basic. The next level is the reactive emotion, right? The next level involves our emotional reactions to sensory experiences, right? For example, if you touch a hot stove, you may feel pain and you may feel fear. So now there's that reactive motion to what, the senses initially had direct contact with. At the third level, critical thoughts. Above emotions are critical thoughts, which are evaluations and interpretations of the sensory and emotional data. So these thoughts can be positive or negative, right? And then above the critical thoughts are beliefs. Beliefs are overarching mental constructs that influence how we interpret and respond to critical thoughts. They're often deeply ingrained and can be empowering or limiting. And then the fifth level, meta beliefs. At the top of the hierarchy of the five levels of mind are our meta beliefs, which are beliefs about beliefs. Okay, so what do we believe about what we believe? These meta beliefs can amplify or diminish the influence of our core beliefs. Absolutely amazing. We look also another sub-theme in this chapter is the impact on decision making. Dr. Hall explains how these levels of mind influence decision making. Our beliefs and meta beliefs in particular play a significant role in shaping our choices and actions. So, for instance, if you have a meta belief that you are not capable of success, this can hinder your decision to pursue opportunities. So if you believe that you can't do it, it makes sense how you ultimately cannot do it because this is the impact, of what you believe on what you decide, influenced by your meta beliefs. Also, we look at neurosemantic loops. The chapter discusses the loops and the cycles that can form between these levels of mind. So, for example, a meta belief can trigger a belief, which influences critical thoughts and in turn affects emotional reactions. So, these loops can either propel us into action or keep us stuck in inaction. And then we look at the power of reframing. Dr. Hall introduces the concept of reframing, which involves changing the way we interpret and react to sensory data, emotions, and thoughts. Reframing can help shift disempowering beliefs and meta beliefs, allowing individuals to overcome obstacles and take action. And then the last uh, theme, or let's just say sub-theme in this chapter, is personal transformation. The chapter highlights that recognizing and addressing limiting beliefs and meta beliefs is essential for personal transformation. Now, this is what something it is something that we all want, right? We want to transform ourselves. We want to, become the best versions of ourselves. By working on the upper levels of mind, beliefs, and meta beliefs, individuals can create lasting change and bridge the knowledge or the knowing doing gap. So, chapter 4 provides a detailed exploration of the five levels of mind and how they shape our experiences and decision making. It emphasizes the critical role of beliefs and meta beliefs in influencing our actions. So, Dr. Hall introduces the concept of reframing as a practical strategy for challenging and changing disempowering beliefs. So, ultimately, enabling readers to overcome obstacles and make progress toward their goals. And so, understanding these levels of mind is key to personal growth and transformation, which is a central theme of this book. And so, moving on to chapter 5, which is titled The Magic of Emotions. Emotions as our fundamental response. So we look at chapter 5, entitled The Magic of Emotions, Emotions as Our Fundamental Response. Now, in this chapter, Dr. Hall explores the significance of emotions and how they influence our thoughts and behaviors, particularly in the context of the knowing doing gap. So some key points that we take from this chapter, we look at emotions as fundamental responses. Here, Dr. Hall begins by emphasizing the idea that emotions are fundamental responses to various stimuli in our environment. They serve as our body's way of alerting us to what's happening and how we should respond. Also, the role of emotions in decision making. Emotions play a crucial role in our decision making process. They can inform us about what we value and what we find important. So, for example, feeling excitement about a particular goal can indicate that it's meaningful to us. Okay, so then we look at positive and negative emotions. Dr. Hall discusses positive as well as negative emotions and how they can influence our actions. So, positive emotions like enthusiasm, joy, and confidence often facilitate taking action. In contrast, negative emotions like fear, anxiety, and self doubt can hinder progress. So, we look at emotional intelligence. The chapter touches upon the concept of emotional intelligence, which involves recognizing, understanding, and managing one's own emotions as well as those of others. So, emotional intelligence is a valuable skill for individuals seeking to bridge the knowing doing gap, as it can help them manage their emotions more effectively. So we look also at the connection between emotions and meta states. Dr. Hall explores how emotions are connected to the concept of meta states, which was discussed in previous chapters. So emotions are a primary aspect of our meta states, and the quality of those emotions can be influenced by the meta states that we are in. Another key subtheme is the influence of language. So the chapter highlights the connection between language and emotions, and the way we describe our experiences and emotions can affect how we feel, and how we perceive our ability to take action. There's also coping strategies. Here, Dr. Hall discusses common coping strategies that people use to deal with negative emotions, such as avoidance, suppression, or distraction. These strategies, while providing temporary relief, may not be effective in the long term for addressing the knowing doing gap. And then another sub-theme is harnessing positive emotions. Here, the chapter emphasizes the importance of harnessing positive emotions to facilitate action. And so, Dr. Hall offers insights into how individuals can cultivate empowering emotional states to motivate themselves as well as to overcome. Certain obstacles. And so chapter 5 underscores the critical role of emotions in the knowing doing gap. And emotions are not just reactions but valuable signals that can guide our actions. And so when we understand and effectively manage our emotions, particularly the ones related to our goals and our desires, it is essential for closing the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing what we know we should be doing. So there's a lot that we receive here, and on the next chapter, chapter 6, we look at states and emotions, the link to excellence and peak performance. Looking at chapter 6 of I Know What to Do, So Why Don't I Do It by Dr. Nick Hall. Now, this chapter is titled States and Emotions, the Link to Excellence and Peak Performance. And in this chapter, Dr. Hall explores the connection between our emotional states and our ability to perform at our best. So we look at some of the sub themes which are discussed in this book. The significance, firstly, of emotional states. Dr. Hall starts by emphasizing the importance of emotional states in achieving excellence and peak performance. So our emotional states, they significantly influence our thoughts as well as our behaviors, as well as our decision making. Okay, so we need to understand this. Also, we look at optimal performance states. The chapter discusses how certain emotional states, often referred to as flow or in the zone, are associated with peak performance. So, in these states, individuals experience heightened focus, creativity, and motivation, allowing them to excel in their chosen activities. We look also at emotions as resources. Here, Dr. Hall presents the idea that emotions can be seen as internal resources that can be harnessed to enhance performance. So, positive emotions such as enthusiasm and confidence can serve as powerful, very powerful resources for taking action and achieving success. We look also at state management. Here, the chapter introduces the concept of state management. This involves the ability to intentionally shift and maintain specific emotional states that are conducive to excellence. So, state management can be a valuable skill for those seeking to close the knowing doing gap. We also look at self motivation. Here, Dr. Hall discusses the role of emotions in self motivation. He highlights that self motivated individuals often experience empowering emotions that drive them to take action. So, these emotions in turn fuel their motivation to pursue their goals. We look also at positive feedback loops. The chapter explores how positive emotional states can create feedback loops that enhance performance. So, for example, when you take action and experience a sense of accomplishment, it can lead to feelings of competence and motivation to continue taking action. Also, we look at the impact of negative states. Here, Dr. Hall also addresses how negative emotional states, such as anxiety and self doubt, can hinder performance and decision making. And so, recognizing and managing these disempowering states is crucial for achieving excellence. And also, we look at practical techniques for state management. The chapter provides practical techniques and exercises for managing and enhancing emotional states. Here, Dr. Hall offers guidance on how to shift from disempowering states to empowering ones, such as through visualization, self talk, and other cognitive behavioral strategies. And so, chapter 6 focuses on the relationship between emotional states and peak performance. It highlights the role of emotions as both resources and obstacles in our pursuit of excellence. And so, understanding how to manage and harness these emotional states is absolutely essential for individuals who are aiming to overcome the knowing doing gap, as well as those who want to achieve their goals, which I would like to believe will be everyone, right? All of us. So, the chapter offers practical strategies for developing emotional intelligence and enhancing performance by intentionally creating and maintaining empowering emotional states. And moving on to chapter 7, that talks about beliefs, the core of our identity. Chapter 7, Beliefs, the core of our identity. And in this chapter, Dr. Hall explores the role of beliefs and how they're at the core of our identity and self concept. So, in this chapter, we look at the significance of beliefs. Dr. Hall begins by emphasizing the profound impact that beliefs have on our lives. Beliefs are the lenses through which we interpret the world and our place in it, as well as they shape our self concept and decisions that we make. And then we look at core beliefs. Dr. Hall introduces the idea of core beliefs, which are the deeply held fundamental beliefs that define our identity. These beliefs are often formed early in life and can be empowering or limiting. On that note, we look also at limiting beliefs. The chapter discusses how limiting beliefs can hold us back and contribute to the knowing doing gap. For example, if you believe you're not smart enough to succeed, this belief can determine your confidence and motivation to take action. We look also at the role of meta beliefs. Here, Dr. Ho connects the concept of beliefs to meta beliefs, which were discussed in previous chapters. Meta beliefs are beliefs about beliefs and can amplify or diminish the influence of our core beliefs. Recognizing and addressing meta beliefs is essential for personal growth and change. And then we look at cognitive distortions. Here, the chapter touches upon cognitive distortions, which are irrational and unhelpful thought patterns that can reinforce limiting beliefs. So, common cognitive distortions include all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing, and overgeneralization. So, Dr. Hall offers strategies for challenging as well as changing these distortions. We don't want these distortions to remain, right? We would like to challenge them, we would like to change them, we would like to transform our lives. And so, we learn about that in this section. We also learn about belief change. Here, Dr. Hall presents the idea that beliefs can be changed, right? And he provides practical methods for challenging and reframing, especially those limiting beliefs. So, these methods involve questioning the evidence for our beliefs and replacing them with more empowering and accurate ones. Also, we look at self fulfilling prophecies. The chapter discusses the concept of self fulfilling prophecies, which occur when our beliefs influence our behavior in a way that confirms the belief. For example, if you believe you'll fail, you may not put in the effort required, for success. You just won't put in that much effort because you already believe that you will fail, right? And so that leads to the predicted failure, right? Which began in what you believed in. And then also we look at empowering beliefs. So here, Dr. Hall emphasizes the importance of cultivating empowering beliefs that support one's goals and aspirations. So these beliefs can enhance confidence, motivation, and resilience, making it easier to take action. And so, chapter 7 provides an in depth exploration of the role of beliefs and how they shape our self concept and behaviors. And Dr. Hall underscores the importance of recognizing and challenging limiting beliefs and meta beliefs to facilitate personal growth, as well as to bridge the knowing doing gap, right? Remember, we want to bridge that gap. So, by understanding the power of beliefs and working to change them, individuals can transform their self identity and empower themselves to take meaningful and purposeful action. And then we move on to chapter 8 that talks about meta programs, our inner world of thinking styles. So, chapter 8, meta programs, our inner world of thinking styles. And in this chapter, Dr. Hall introduces the concept of meta programs and how they influence our thinking, our decision making, and behavior. Right. And so we look at understanding meta programs. And so Dr. Hall explains what meta programs are. Okay. So meta programs are mental patterns or thinking styles that influence the way we perceive and interact with the world. So they can be thought of as our inner world of cognitive preferences, okay? That inner programming. And then we look also in the section at the flexibility in thinking. The chapter highlights that everyone has a unique combination of meta programs, which can vary in different situations and contexts. So, meta programs influence how we process information, make decisions, and respond to the world around us. So, some examples of meta programs. Dr. Hall provides examples of common meta programs, such as whether a person has a preference for focusing on details or the big picture, whether they are more motivated by what they want or what they want to avoid, and whether they are more oriented toward possibilities or probabilities. We look also at impact on communication. The chapter discusses how understanding the meta programs of others can improve communication and relationships. When you can recognize the thinking style of another person, you can tailor your communication to be more effective and harmonious. We look also at influence on decision making. Meta programs can significantly impact decision making. So, for instance, someone with a preference for a toward orientation might be motivated by the rewards of a particular decision. Right? While someone with an away orientation might be more motivated by avoiding potential negative consequences. By the way, there are some consequences that you can't avoid. And then we also look at self understanding and personal growth. Here, Dr. Hall emphasizes that self awareness of your own meta programs can lead to personal growth. By understanding your thinking styles, you can adapt your strategies and approaches to be more effective in different situations. We look in the section at managing these meta programs. The chapter provides guidance on how to manage and adapt your meta programs to achieve your goals. So, Dr. Hall suggests that by recognizing when your thinking style is not serving you well, you can intentionally shift it to a more beneficial pattern. And then also, we look at flexibility and adaptability, which is where Dr. Hall encourages readers to develop greater flexibility in their thinking by acknowledging and working with their meta programs. Being adaptable in your thinking styles can help bridge the knowing doing gap by allowing you to approach challenges and decisions more effectively. So, chapter 8 deepens the exploration of how our inner world of thinking styles, known as meta programs, can influence our perceptions and actions. By understanding and managing these cognitive preferences, individuals can improve their communication, decision making, and adaptability. The self awareness can be a valuable tool in addressing the knowing doing gap as it enables individuals to approach their goals and challenges with greater flexibility and effectiveness. So we move on to the next chapter, chapter 9, which talks about the breakout system, getting out of the matrix of limitation. So, chapter 9, I Know What to Do, So Why Don't I Do It by Dr. Nick Hall is titled The Breakout System Getting Out of the Matrix of Limitation. And in this chapter, Dr. Hall presents the breakout system, okay, which is a step by step approach to breaking free from limitations and bridging the knowing doing gap. And so we talk about the introduction to the breakout system. And here, Dr. Hall begins by introducing what the breakout system is all about, right? He introduces it as a structured framework for personal transformation, and that the system is designed to help individuals overcome their self imposed limitations and take decisive action. Okay, also here we learn about identifying limiting beliefs and meta states. The breakout system begins with self awareness. So, Dr. Hall instructs readers to identify their limiting beliefs, disempowering meta states, and negative cognitive patterns. So, this step is essential because it highlights the specific mental and emotional barriers that need to be addressed. Also, we look at creating a vision of excellence. The next step involves creating a clear and compelling vision of excellence. This vision serves as a guiding light, providing motivation and purpose. By envisioning what you want to achieve and who you want to become, you can increase your commitment to your goals. We look also at resourceful states. The breakout system emphasizes the importance of cultivating resourceful emotional states, and Dr. Hall provides guidance on how to access and maintain empowering states like confidence, motivation, and determination. We also look at challenge and reframe beliefs. The system encourages individuals to challenge and reframe their limiting beliefs by questioning the validity of these beliefs and replacing them with more empowering alternatives that you can shift, your mindset. Also, we look at taking action. The heart of the breakout system is taking action. So, Dr. Hall stresses that knowledge alone is not enough. You must turn your knowledge into action. The chapter provides practical strategies for setting and achieving specific goals. So we look at also feedback and adjustments. Dr. Hall highlights the importance of gathering feedback and making adjustments as you progress. So this iterative process allows you to refine your actions and stay on course toward your goals. We look also at success strategies. The chapter introduces success strategies that include modeling successful individuals, utilizing effective time management techniques, and creating supportive environments. So these strategies can help individuals maintain momentum and continue taking action. We look also at perseverance and resilience. Dr. Hall emphasizes the importance of perseverance and resilience in the face of setbacks. He encourages readers to develop a growth mindset that views challenges as opportunities for growth and learning. So, celebrating achievements, the chapter closes with a reminder to celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. Recognizing and acknowledging your progress can reinforce positive behavior and motivation. And so, chapter 9 serves as a practical guide for applying the principles and concepts introduced in earlier chapters. So, the breakout system is a structured approach to personal growth and transformation, providing readers with the tools and steps needed to break free from self imposed limitations and bridge the knowing doing gap. It emphasizes self awareness, goal setting, emotional management, and a proactive approach to turning knowledge into action. And so we move on to the last but definitely not the least chapter, chapter 10, which is titled Putting It All Together, Mastering the Magic of Meta States. So, chapter 10, putting it all together, mastering the magic of meta states. And in this concluding chapter, Dr. Hall summarizes the key concepts and strategies that are discussed throughout the book. And he also encourages readers to integrate these ideas into their lives. So we look at recap of key concepts. So Dr. Hall begins by summarizing the key concepts discussed in the book. So he revisits the knowing doing gap, neurosemantics, metastates, beliefs and emotions, emphasizing their significance in understanding and overcoming personal limitations. We also look at the metastates model. The chapter reinforces the idea that the metastates model is a powerful framework for comprehending the structure of our experiences and thought patterns. It highlights the interconnectedness of thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and meta beliefs within this model. So we also look at the transformation process. Here, Dr. Hall underscores the importance of the transformation process. This process involves recognizing and challenging limiting beliefs and meta beliefs, managing emotions, and shifting into more empowering states. It's a dynamic and ongoing journey toward personal growth and peak performance. We look also at the power of self reflection. The chapter encourages readers to engage in self reflection and introspection. By continuously evaluating their thoughts, their emotions, and behaviors, individuals can gain greater self awareness and make intentional changes. So we look at applying the breakout system. Dr. Hall suggests that the breakout system introduced in chapter 9 should be consistently applied in daily life. It provides a structured approach for breaking free from limitations and taking action. So we look at setting goals and taking action. The chapter emphasizes the importance of setting clear and achievable goals. Goals act as a roadmap for progress and give individuals a sense of direction. Taking consistent action toward these goals is the key to closing the knowing doing gap. So we look at perseverance and resilience. Here, Dr. Hall reiterates the importance of resilience and perseverance in the face of challenges and setbacks. Building mental toughness and embracing a growth mindset are crucial for long term success. Creating a supportive environment, the chapter encourages individuals to create a supportive environment that fosters personal growth and success. This includes surrounding oneself with positive influences and removing or minimizing negative ones. So we look also at celebrating successes. Dr. Hall reminds readers to celebrate their successes along the way. Recognizing achievements, no matter how small, provides motivation and reinforces positive behaviors. We look also at continual growth and self mastery. Here, the concluding chapter highlights that personal growth and self mastery are lifelong journeys. So, Dr. Hall encourages readers to continue applying the principles of the book, adapt to new challenges, and strive for ongoing improvement. Also, we look at integrating metastates. The chapter encourages readers to integrate the concepts of metastates into their everyday lives. By becoming more conscious of their thought patterns, emotional states, and beliefs, individuals can make more intentional choices and actions. Also, we look at the power of choice. So, Dr. Hall closes the book by emphasizing on the power of choice. Ultimately, individuals have the agency to choose their thoughts, their emotions, and actions. By exercising this power of choice, they can create their life they desire. And so, chapter 10 serves as a comprehensive wrap up of the book's central themes and provides a roadmap for readers to apply the principles and strategies discussed. It reinforces the idea that personal growth and transformation are ongoing processes that require self awareness, intention, and the consistent application of the concepts introduced in the book. So, by mastering the magic of metastates, individuals can bridge the knowing doing gap and move closer to achieving their goals and aspirations.